All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto our power, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Ha Rachakodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us his truth and who also rule well. Peace and salutation to those of the hopeful elect. All right. Hey, man, we're in a time, of war. All right. There's no turning back at this point. Okay. Trump is talking about, he's pretty much he's displaying his discrepancies towards NATO and how NATO didn't want to, help, with his involvement with Iran. Okay. So pretty much everything is leading towards prophecy because it's prophesied that America's allies, would turn against it. Okay. So things is about to change in the soils of America. Okay. What's going on is going to affect our lives, everybody's everyday lives. Okay. All right. This thing is getting ready to escalate, to a point that it's never been before, to the point where, hey, they're having talks of the draft. Okay. Which we know that's going to take place according to prophecy. All right. But you got people making a bunch of TikToks. You got a lot of Jakes talking about they ain't finna go out there. They rather go to jail. All right. But ultimately, the Lord gonna send a lot of 2/3 of Jake out there. Okay. Whether Jake said they ain't going or not, it's not up to them. All right. So we're in great times. Okay. But it's definitely, the time of war. Okay. And just like, Trump said, there will be casualties. Okay. All right. And we're talking about war in the Middle East, that's going to be the place of W.W.3. But there's going to be war in the soils of America. Okay. America's going to turn into a war zone. All right. And this is all because Yahweh Shema Shai is judging this earth. Okay. Because this earth is wicked. This is Zephaniah 3:8. It says, therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the prey. All right. So us being Israelites, okay, the true biblical Israelites, which consists of the so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Seminole Indians, as well as Israelite foreigners that may look like the other nations, but their fathers go back to the patriarchs on the 12 tribe sign. Okay. We are the biblical Israelites. All right. And, currently we're in captivity. All right. We're the people that is not desired. We're the people that has gone through the curses, and the curses are still upon us. Okay. But Yahweh Shema Shai has mercy for the nation of Israel, starting off, all right, with the remnant. Okay. A small portion whom the Lord will have mercy first. Okay. And deliver in this time. Okay. So we have to wait. And when you wait, that goes into having patience, and patience goes into suffering. All right. Because we want the kingdom, all right, to be established now. We want to be in paradise now. Okay. We want to be liberated from these chains of darkness, these vile bodies. Okay. We want the earth to be liberated from the hands of Esau, Edom. Okay. But we have to wait on the Lord. Okay. Because the Lord is going to rise up to Esau, the current rulers that be, as well as these other heathen nations as well that are in power around the earth, that have autonomy. All right. But really they're underneath the 1% bankers. All right. The Lord going to rise up to these people. Okay. So this is the reason why these events are taking place in the earth. Okay. It's all going according to the plans of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. So it says, therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord. It says, until the day that I rise up to the prey, for my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms to pour upon them mine indignation. Okay, and that's what we're seeing the Lord do. Okay, he's assembling the nations. Okay, and Trump is talking about sending more troops to Iran, and which will turn into another Vietnam War. All right. But really, it's going to be bigger than that. We're talking about World War III. Okay. And you got a lot of jakes that they talking about they ain't trying to go. You got a lot of people talking about they don't want to fight for this country. They don't want to fight for Trump. They don't want to fight for those small hats over there. All right. But again, it's not up to them. All right. The Lord going to be shipping niggas out there. Okay. And those that rebel, all right, because it's going to be a big uprising, all right, coming with this draft, all right, they're going to open up the FEMA camps, okay? So we're in great times. We're talking about the collapse of a society, all right? And a lot of people is getting ready, all right, to be judged, okay? 2/3 of Israel, as well as the rest of these wicked people here in America, all right? Hey, it's going to turn into a war-torn country. So it says, for my determination is to gather the nations that I may assemble the kingdoms to pour upon them mine indignation. Okay, so the Lord is the one that's calling the troops over here to the Middle East. That's why Trump, again, he said he's going to send more boots on the ground in Iran. All right. The Lord is calling all the troops to that area. It says to pour upon them mine indignation. Why? Because at the peak of World War III, that's when our Lord Yahweh Shai is going to make his return, when all the pieces are in the right place, and the Lord is going to destroy all the armies of the earth. It says, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. Yeah, the Lord's coming back with those so-called UFOs or UAPs, all right, and they're going to be shooting concentrated fire, which is those laser beams, okay? So that's the time we're in, a time of war. All right. And this is the beginning of it, you know? So I'm going to get another precept. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 3. And I'm going to start at 1. It says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. All right. So there is an appointed time. The so-called white man, he had a measure of time to rule. All right. And now we're approaching the end of his measure. Okay. We're approaching the end of his time. Okay. And these are the events that entail the end of his time, but it's a process. All right. That's why the Lord said, wait ye upon me. Okay. And to be occupied in prophecies. Okay. So I'm going to jump down Ecclesiastes 3. And 8. It says a time to love and a time to hate. Okay. And right now, there's nothing but hatred. All right. America is the most divided that it's ever been. Okay. And not only that, on a global scale, on a global stage, America is hated by everyone. America is the bad guy. America's worse than Hitler. Okay. Trump is worse than Hitler right now. All right. In the eyes of the world. Okay. America's the bad guy. Okay. So there's a lot of hatred. And even amongst in the soils of America, everybody hates each other save those that are the elect. It says a time of war and a time of peace. Now, it's obviously we're not in a time of peace. All right. Even though these people, they're fighting to keep the peace. All right. They're begging to keep the peace. All right. But that's not so. OK, the Lord is forwarding. All right. The trumpets of war. OK, and pretty soon it's going to reach everybody's doorstep. OK. All right. The scriptures say that they shall spoil each other for great tribulation and for the lack of bread. What's going on in the Strait of Hormuz? All right. It's causing oil prices to skyrocket. All right. As well, you're going to see groceries. All right. Astronomical prices. All right. A loaf of bread It's going to be $100 for a loaf of bread. Okay. It's going to be unbearable that the system is just going to be broken and people's going to be not regarding the kings or princes. They're going to be taking matters in their own hands and uprising. Okay. So we're in those times. All right. And with all this danger, all right, that's here. Hey, Yahweh Shemal Shai is going to grant his men spiritual powers. All right. Because it's going to be needed, as well as the miracles. All right. So that's why we have to keep our faith intact. Okay. And we got to keep our hope alive. All right. Because we're going to need it in those days, and the Lord's going to require faith. Okay. So I'm going to get another precept. This is Isaiah 9:5. It says, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. Yeah, because that's how, wars was fought in the ancient world. Okay. Hey, it was close combat. Swords. It was gruesome. Okay. Battle cries. Okay. People bleeding out. All right. Even now, you got the, the guns, which is the modern day sword. Okay. I'm going to continue to read. It says, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. But this World Wars 3, all right, they just going to be pushing buttons and shit going to be blowing up. Targets is going to be hit. All right. And when one person push a button, they all going to push the buttons at the same time. And then missiles is going to be flying. All right. The thing is, the majority of the missiles is going to be towards America. Okay. This is Jeremiah 50:14. It says, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow. All right. So all ye that bend the bow, all ye that are capable of nuclear warfare, including the EU and NATO, those nations that have nuclear capabilities, America's current own allies, all right, which are adrift. Okay. America's own allies is going to be a part of destroying America. It says, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against the Lord. Okay. In America, this place is exceedingly wicked. All right. And when we say this place, I'm talking about the construct and the people behind the construct and the people that live in America. It's completely wicked and vile. All right. So the Lord has a punishment, such as how the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. All right. Yahweh Shemal Shai is going to destroy this place in like manner, but in a greater fashion. Okay. That's why those nuclear missiles are built. All right. So this war, it ain't going to last too long once the missiles get let off. Okay. But Yahweh Shemal Shai is going to deliver his elect. Okay. From these things. All right. We're in a time of war. All right. And Yahweh Shemal Shai is going to make sure that he defend his elect. Okay. Bear with me. This is Isaiah chapter 65. And I'm gonna start at 13. It says, therefore thus saith the Lord power, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Yeah, because this war is gonna cause America to collapse. All right. And the draft is gonna cause people to uprise in martial law and the FEMA camps. Okay. And in the midst of all these things, The stores is going to be shut down. All right. The imports is going to stop coming. All right. And they're not going to know where the next meal is going to come from. All right. So it says, thus says the Lord power, behold my servants. So those that have been serving Yahweh Shema Shai when it wasn't cool. All right. When they was calling us conspiracy theorists, when they was calling us bug outs. All right. We was just disgruntled. All right. World War III never going to happen. Okay. America, martial law ain't going to happen. All right. Even Esau being the devil is being exposed. All right. But the men of the Lord have been telling you for years, going all the way back to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. All right. Oh, but now now it's mainstream. Okay. Yet the prophets still are, disregarded. It's okay. It's supposed to be like that. All right. Because the scriptures say they shall see the salvation of us being delivered, going into Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter. All right. And I'm looking at a whole bunch of crows right now with a bunch of food. There's like 2 or 3 crows. They all got food in their mouth. You can't make this up. Call Allah Yahweh by Shema Shai. There was like 2 or 3 crows flying, and they all had food in their mouth. All right. And I'm reading the scripture, Isaiah 65:13. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, behold, my servant shall eat. And it remind me when the Lord used it was either a crow or a raven to feed Elijah, the prophet. Okay. And the Lord could do that for us in this time. All right. And like I said, that's not a coincidence. All right. Everything spiritual that I seen, it was like I seen one crow that had food in his mouth, and I seen 2 more, and they both had food in their mouth flying overhead. Okay. The Lord is going to do that for us in this time. It says, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. So these people are going to be through. Jacob's trouble is for 2/3 of Israel. The destruction of America is for Esau and the nations that love it here. Okay? So they're going to be out there. They're going to be cooked. It says, behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Yeah, because when the grid shut down, all right, good luck trying to get water out these faucets. Okay? They're going to shut it all down. And they're going to try to coerce everybody into getting the C-hip. All right? The MOTB, which is the Neuralink and the subdermal device. All right? But the elect are going to sidestep that whole thing through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. It says, behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. All right? And the spirit is going in, all right, to these people being ashamed. All right? But you women are going to be ashamed the most. All right, because you women are so bugged out. Y'all think y'all hitting on something. Y'all ain't hitting on shit. All right, you women are gonna be cooked in that day, especially the women that did the men of the Lord wrong, or look down on the men of the Lord. Or all right, they gonna see it the most. They gonna see the power of Yahweh Shema Shai on the men of the Lord the most. The scriptures say, "I will make a man more precious than fine gold." Okay. All right, and gold is shiny. All right, you'll be able to see gold glistening from afar. So the Lord is gonna put that spirit on the men of the Lord, and the men of the Lord are gonna be rejecting a lot of you bitches. All right, excuse my language. And if the shoe don't fit, you got sisters that listen and believe. It's not for you. That it's for these women that are in the world. All right. So it said, behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart. Our heart goes into the Hebrew word lab, meaning your mind. So we're going to have a piece of, we're going to be joyous. We're going to be thankful to Yahweh Shema Shai, the Lord looking out for us. And we're going to be looking at these people cook, suffering, them and their children. It says, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart and shall howl for vexation of spirit. Okay? Because these scriptures say that shall dwell in torments. All right? And it's about damn time. All right, because these people are walking around proud, smile on their face, and they're completely okay with wickedness. All right, they forward the wickedness. They push the wickedness. All right, and they hate righteousness too. Okay, they hate masculinity. All right, everything. All right, that's righteous. Okay, they hate a man having multiple wives. Okay, hey man, that shit is vexing. This place is vexing. Okay, but the Lord is going to allow us to get the victory when we see the fall of our enemies, man. Those that hate us. The Lord is going to allow us to get the victory. Okay? The Lord is going to allow us to get the last laugh. And ultimately, when Yahweh shall return in the midst of World War III, because the Lord is going to enter in from the east and make his way towards the west. The Lord is going to take out the armies in the midst of World War III in the Middle East and deliver the elect around the earth, chiefly in America, in that fathership. All right? And the last laugh is when America's being pelted while the elect is in the chariots looking down upon Babylon being destroyed. All right. And then from there, it's going to be all over. All right. But this is a great buildup. Okay. It's a great buildup to the return of Yahweh Shai. All right. So we just got to, continue to endure, and just ride the wave of prophecies. Abarat is how we party elect. Lord's will is less is edifying. I want to say, call all y'all Bashim Shai, Bashim Chakodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us the truth, who also were well. Peace and salutation to those that are hopeful elect. Shalom and a Baba.